Hello everybody, 4-Star here, back at it again with another BFL video. This time we are celebrating the season with the BFL honors. This is the video where we're going to review the season and give out our awards for who was the MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, etc. We're also going to talk about each team's season and how they did. We're also going to look at the all-pro list as we go down to the actual honor show, which will be the awards. So if you like this content, like and subscribe and stick around, and we're going to get right into the standings and then get right into the team rankings. So starting off with the standings here, we got the Carolina Kings at 10-4. They got the first seed. We have the Denver Dynamo with the second seed, 10-4. Boston Revolution at 10-4 with the third seed. Toronto hosting their first playoff game as the fourth seed at 9-5 after having a 1-13 season. The Oakland Grizzlies are 9-5. The New Jersey Dragons are 8-6. The Miami Cyclones are 8-6, surprisingly, with the 7th seed, the lowest seed they've ever had in their team's history. The Detroit Demons squeeze out of that playoff race with 6-8. The Atlanta Bullets are in 9th place at 6-8. The Ohio Bulldogs are at 6-8. The LA Gold are at 6-8. The Kansas City Scouts, the Orlando Knight Riders, and the Dallas Marshals all in the bottom three at 5-9. And then, of course, with the last place spot, the New York Jays, who we will be mentioning next year with the rankings. So here on our rankings, in last place are the New York Jays, man. They went 2-12 after a projected 7-7 record. They made a lot of changes to their roster here. Of course, getting Jason Blake, acquiring them from Orlando while they released Willie Gore. Now he's the backup quarterback for Toronto here. And they just ended this season on a 6-game losing streak, the second worst record in BFL history, of course, next to Toronto's 1-13 record last season in season 5. Another questionable headline here is, will Lamar Walker stay? Now, his contract says that he can opt out at any point. Will he stay here with this team and try to build something with his team? He had a 1,000-yard season. He had, I believe, about 13-14 touchdowns. He was definitely the star of the show. You had guys shining like Derek Vincent, and but a lot of receivers dropping the ball a lot, and I mean that literally and figuratively, just messing up here this season. Will Adams, a long standing wide receiver, was dropping the ball all over the place, but he definitely did flourish at the end of the season. And then Venture Strong, he was supposed to be the #1 receiver this year. He just did not carry that mantle well. And this team definitely needs a complete rebuild. Is Jason Blake the quarterback that they want to extend in a contract, or do they want to go to the draft and get them a #1 pick quarterback, which what I would do, if I'm thinking anybody would do in this situation. But the New York Jays definitely got a lot of work to do. So next here in 14th place was the Dallas Marshals, and of course, I'm not really disappointed in the Dallas Marshals season. They did pretty okay. They did better than last season, which was 3-10-1. They got Sammy Hayes with I believe their second pick in the draft. And he did amazing. Second team All-Pro, 8 sacks this season. Cameron Brown was a dog. Keenan Preston and the combo with him and Chris Duncan succeeded once again. Had another 1,000-yard season. And the receiving core, even though they were a disappointment earlier this season and in the middle of the season, the last few games they have really came into their own. Guys like Tony Chrisman and Corey Fitzgerald really gelled at the end of the season there. And they really look like a decent enough team, but they need a little bit more just firepower on offense. They need a little bit more oomph on offense, because there's only so far Keenan Preston and Chris Duncan can go with this team. And Pat Kane, of course, he did a decent season, but he's not at that season 3 form that we've seen him before. But this is a decent season for the Marshals. They went 5-9. They were projected to be 5-9, and let's see what they can do in the offseason. And then here in 13th place, we got the Orlando Knight Riders here, who had an optimistic first start of the season. Of course, they wanted to go to the playoffs here after a great season last year, 8-6, and they made it to the playoffs. But they did have a first-round exit to Boston. But this time around, they were supposed to have a great season. They were projected 9-5, and they ended up 5-9 after having an abysmal 0-6 start to the season here. And things looked like they were supposed to be going up. It looked like the issue with Kenny Harrison and Jason Blake was over with. They shipped Jason Blake to New York, and this team was supposed to flourish. I mean, they had Devontae Pritchard, they had Jonathan Pritchard, Tony Fitzgerald stayed for another season, and of course they acquired Bobby Lowe. And this was a team that was supposed to be special, but they just had too many close losses. They had too many slip-ups. They had too many fumbles to end the game. And of course, the locker room is going to be looking at the coach after the debacle between Kenny Harrison and Jason Blake, which was, why did you pick a quarterback in the first round when you had Kenny Harrison, and Kenny Harrison balled out? And I know he didn't ball out as much in season 4, but that was the waning issue here from season 4 to 6. And now you can see the consequences of it. This team is just not gelling right, and they might need a coaching change soon. And then here in 12th place, we got the Kansas City Scouts, who ended up their season 5-9 and had a projected record of 6-8. Last season they went 7-7, and the big headlines here is if Austin Cole is going to stay, or is Andy Hewitt going to start for season 7. Of course, Austin Cole, he filled in for Andy Hewitt after Andy Hewitt chipped his collarbone, and he was out for the rest of the season. Ryan Clark, the running back, announced that he was going to be retiring here at the end of season 7. The longtime running back has had 2 seasons here in the league, and he's been a phenomenal running back. He's been a great receiving back, but he's been showing his age. He says that he doesn't know if he can do it anymore after season 7, but he knows that he can really power another season out. So that's what he's going to be intending to do. We also have the receiving core. This was a great receiving core. You had Vasco, Laurent, DJ Faison, Maynard, the tight end, and then also you had Dana Gaynor. They were a pretty good receiving core. And under Austin Cole, they really got it gelling at near the end of the season here. So that's another question, if Austin Cole can stay and really just invigorate this team, or is Andy Hewitt, the old GOAT, who's going to be turning, I believe, 36 or 37, can he hold it down for another season before he retires? I know that he wants to make it to 40. He's been here for 10 seasons in the BFL as well. And then the defense definitely needs an overhaul. Of course, even with the great defensive front they have with Randall Grant and Tavian King that they acquired in the first round of the draft, they still need just a better defensive backfield. They need corners, they need safeties to really change it up, and hopefully they can do that in the offseason. So now going into the playoff teams here, the playoff contending teams here, the LA Gold ended up with the 11th seed, the 11th place spot. They ended up 6-8. Their projected record was 8-6 after all the acquirements that they made on defense. Last season, they also went 6-8 in a disappointing season. The headlines here is that Josh Schmidt, the legendary linebacker, will be retiring after 6 full seasons with the team. He's been with the team since BFL season 1, and he won Defensive Player of the Year for both of those seasons. Back in season 1 and season 2, he was unofficially Defensive Player of the Year when we didn't have those stats, but he definitely got those crowns. He had the most tackles. He had damn near all the interceptions for that team. He was a GOAT. The team definitely needs help on offense. I mean, Seth Bynum has been flourishing here and there. And of course, Sheldon Massey has been good. Of course, he surged late near the end of the season. He got a lot more yards and a lot more touches, and I'm pretty sure he demanded that in the locker room near the end of these losses here. But the real question is, what's next for this defense? Now, a lot of guys here are going to be on their contract years. Brad Emanuel has a 5-year contract. Mo Quinn, who is the rookie, but he's about 32, 33. I believe he's 32. And he's going to have at least like another 2 years left before he gets out of Dodge and he retires. And, of course, you got Jared Lowe there. He's definitely going to get a big contract. He won Defensive Player of the Year, I believe, last season. So there's a lot of big questions here. But John Clausen, he did a really good job this season, being basically the wide receiver substitute, as they just didn't get a lot of game plans going here, and they definitely need a new coach or a new system here for the offense, because Nate Whitman cannot do it all by himself. But this is a very promising team here. They do have Jeremy Holmberg. Will they add him at the offseason? He's getting older in age as well. He was formerly of the Dallas Marshals, so maybe he can help out with this with the younger receiving core like what they're doing with Toronto. But who knows what's next for this team in LA. But the LA Gold definitely need to get some acquisitions here to get ready for a playoff or even have a chance at a playoff run. And then in 10th place, we got the Ohio Bulldogs. They ended up 6-8 this season. They were projected to be 7-7. And then last season, they were 9-5. They had a completely different roster. Of course, they had Zeke Crawford, who was going through a waning year. And then we had Tony McDaniel there, who was the veteran wide receiver, and they kind of didn't need him no more, so they kind of just released him. And then he moved to Toronto as well as Zeke. And now they are in two completely different standings right now, as the Toronto Golden Owls are obviously in the playoffs. But the headlines here is that Otto Anderson, he signed a 1-year retirement contract so he could retire as a Bulldog, and he did do some service for this team. I think he got a win with this team as he subbed in for Deshaun McPherson. He was a 2-time ASFL MVP, an ASFL champion in season 3 with the Bulldogs. So, you know, congratulations to him. And he got to play in his final game against Denver. It was a nail biter, but he tried his best. And, you know, here at the BFL, we are very proud of Otto Anderson, definitely a Hall of Famer in the future. And we can't really say too much about him. He's really a great, and he was a GOAT back in the ASFL. Dakota Riley seeking a contract though. I think he's gonna get it. There's not really too many star players, and a lot of guys who are rookies like Xavier Gonzalez are going to be on their rookie year for next season. So this was a great season for Dakota Riley. He got an all-pro season, 900 yards, a handful of touchdowns, and he shouldn't be disappointed with his season as well. The rookies, though, they did struggle. I will say Jamison Jean-Baptiste looked the best out there, but the veterans really did have to carry here when it comes to like Dakota Riley or Adam Hand. They definitely carried this season. And then the surprising headline was JJ Billups and his defense. I mean, the defensive line, and of course him manning that middle linebacker position. He did a really good job, and they should expect to give him a contract extension this season. But all in all, a decent season for the Ohio Bulldogs, and we should be seeing a little bit more improvement from the rookies next season. At the 9th seed, we have the Atlanta Bullets, and there's a lot to say about this team. This was a very exciting team, to say the very least, with Atlanta. The projected record was 7-7. It wasn't too much to be excited about when you're the Atlanta Bullets, but they did make it to the playoffs last season at 8-6. They upset the Ohio Bulldogs by just completely dominating them, and then they lost to Boston. So there wasn't too much to be excited about with Atlanta, but they didn't make too many moves in the offseason. But this team really took off, and D Singleton, amazing job this year when it comes to touchdowns. 52 touchdowns. I believe he had 14 rushing touchdowns, and then the rest was passing touchdowns. He had a near 1,000-yard rushing season along with his 3,000-yard passing season. But just a disappointing end to the season. Of course, losing like that to Carolina and letting them put up 52 points on the board was just way too much, and they did that way too often. The defense really gave up way too many points this season, and of course D Singleton tried his best to keep up, but along with him and his turnovers, this team was just not able to win games. Even with the ridiculous amount of touchdowns they got, they were just not able to win games. 3 first-team All-Pros, though. D Singleton, Keith Manning, and Brock McClendon all got first-team All-Pros, so they should be happy with that at the very least. But the Bullets definitely need a different game plan and a way different secondary and defense here if they want to be competitive in the playoffs or even try to reach the playoffs next year. But I'm very optimistic with this team. They have a very, very good offense. Keith Manning still holding it down at age 32. He's going to be 33 next season. He intends to play until 40. So I see no stopping him. And then D Singleton is going to be a lot. He has to learn after this season that he cannot cause that many turnovers. And he just needs to keep security over the ball, which he learned at near the end of the season. But just too many mistakes, and it was just too little too late. So at the eighth seed, we got the Detroit Demons barely squeaking into the playoffs. And when I mean barely, I mean barely. Of course, they beat the New Jersey Dragons in overtime. Please check out that video if you didn't already. But then in week 15, they got their losses. They got the teams that needed to lose that whole week. Atlanta, Ohio, and LA all lost their games for them to make it to the playoffs. Damn near impossible odds for them to make it to the playoffs, but now they are here. They have 4 first-team All-Pros, and one of them, and you can argue 2 of them, are MVP candidates. Tamarick Clay is definitely an MVP candidate. 1,400-yard season. I believe he had 14 rushing touchdowns, and then you got to count the receiving touchdown. I believe he only had about 2, but he had an amazing season. And it was shocking that this team just barely made it to the playoffs here. Randall Bynum had an amazing year. The defense had a pretty decent year when it comes to the front 7. And then the mistakes that happened with Lance Shutt. A lot of games he lost this season, but they barely squeeze in, and they have a good chance at going to the Mega Bowl here. I mean, they have a very, very slim chance compared to all the other teams, especially trying to take on Carolina, but they still have a good chance of making it there with their offense. They have an incredible offense that can really score quickly, and they have the legs to do it with Tamarick Clay. So definitely watch out. This is an upset alert team. They had an incredible season between those 3 guys that they got in their draft in season 4, and they're all going to be looking for big paydays even after this season. 3 consecutive playoff appearances. They've never missed a playoff alongside Oakland in their team's history. And this should be a fun one against Carolina in the playoffs. And with the surprising 7th seed, we got the Miami Cyclones. They end up their season 8-6 after losing 2 straight games, entering the playoffs here. Their projected record was 11-2. Obviously, coming off a Mega Bowl, they were looking hot, and they were looking like one of the best teams in the league. Last season, of course, 9-5. We said the same thing before. After their 11-1 season in season 4, we said, oh, they're looking weaker. They've looked vulnerable, and maybe these teams can take them out. Well, they proved all of them wrong, and they won Mega Bowl 5. BB Cash, an amazing season once again, destroying, and I mean destroying records. I believe he has 21 receiving touchdowns and over 1,300 receiving yards, destroying his last record last year, which won him Offensive Player of the Year. And now he's in the running for Offensive Player of the Year and MVP this season. Rex Johnson, a pretty decent season. He did miss 2 games with an injury, but they did not miss a beat. Rex Johnson, over 38 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards, another amazing season, 2nd team All-Pro this year. And of course, he's been with the team for all but 1 season. That was BFL season 1 as he was retired. He came out of retirement, of course, and he won 2 more rings. And now he's looking for his 5th ring and his 3rd straight ring with this team. Miami has a chance, even if it's a low one, to repeat this season. You can't even count these guys out. They have a stacked roster, great guys on both ends of the field here. As you can see, Matt Nash and BB Cash both getting in the All-Pro selection. That's just how good Rex Johnson is, both having 1,000-yard seasons. And Matt Nash definitely going to be looking for a contract extension. Guys like David Wilder, Ed Hale, Austin Pleasant, TJ Siegel, all those guys on the defensive front, they're really, really stacked, and you really don't want to get hit by those guys. They have a hard-hitting defense along with a potent offense, and that almost spells disaster for any team going up against them. They look like they're ready for a 3-peat. We just got to see once they get down to Denver. Last time they were in Denver last year, they lost 41-14, and that was one of their 5 losses that they had last season. Now they only have 1 extra loss, but you can't count this team out. You cannot count the Miami Cyclones out, and they're dead set on a 3-peat there this season. And here at the 6th seed, you got my New Jersey Dragons here. They went 8-6 this year, and they edged out Miami to get over them in the seeding. So they have the 6th seed, and their projected record was 10-4. We were looking for them to basically repeat what they did last season with their amazing rookies, OJ Knight and Mike Carroll, both of them winning Offensive and Defensive Player Rookie of the Year. And they really slumped, especially with the receiving core. Definitely underwhelming for them, but they did lose in the playoffs to Miami in the semifinal on their road to the Mega Bowl. Rashard Murphy, he had an amazing season though, 43 touchdowns here, and I believe 13 of those was rushing touchdowns and then 30 was passing. He had a legendary season this year. He had a 1,000-yard rushing season, I believe 3,000 yards passing yards, but nobody in a receiving car over 1,000 yards this season. That is the first time that's ever happened. Of course, he has guys like Steve Gross, Mike Carroll, Trey Flanagan, Rodney Parker, who was basically his main guy to go to this season, and then even Asher Diggs, guys stepping up. Asher Diggs from Toronto last season, that 1-13 team, he ended up here on the roster. And this team definitely looks a little shaky. They're one of the teams that I really don't see going too far in the playoffs here, but anything is possible. They do take on the Boston Revolution, who they lost to in overtime on Christmas Day. That Christmas Day game, if you haven't checked that one out, that was a really fun one to try to mod and to play. But here they are. They're in their 5th playoff appearance. They missed all but one, and that was the aforementioned season 4. And here they are once again. They're a hard team to kill. They're a hard team to bring down. They have a pretty solid defense now this season, with Troy Osbury being an acquisition from the draft. This is a pretty decent team, but you gotta watch out for those receivers. They haven't been the best this year, and you're really just going to be focused on Rodney Parker and maybe Steve Gross this season and this postseason. Next, here in the 5th seed is the Oakland Grizzlies here, and they were a surprising one this season, a projected 5-9 season from this team, as they didn't really make too many moves here in the offseason, and of course they didn't make too many hard-hitting picks in the draft. But man, oh man, this team was improved. They got Tariq Jammer from the fantasy draft, not even from the pro player draft. They got from the fantasy draft, and man, did he ball out. 16 receiving touchdowns, a rookie record, 2 kick returns for touchdowns, all in the same game. An amazing year from him. Luke McCoy, 47 passing touchdowns, a BFL record. He has, I believe he has 51 this season. I believe he got 4 rushing touchdowns, 4,592 yards, another BFL record. He shattered the record, and he's one of our favorites for MVP. You can see the projected record was 5-9. This team was not supposed to be here, but they really went out and balled out this season, especially in the middle of the season where Luke McCoy just balled the hell out. I believe he got like 25 touchdowns in like 4 games. It was absolutely unbelievable. We did not see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. But they have not missed a playoff appearance yet. Last season they went 7-7 as the 8th seed. They lost to New Jersey, and now they are sitting pretty here in the 5th seed, a 3 seed difference. That is pretty impressive, a jump from season to season. But now they are seeking their 2nd Mega Bowl here. This is a young franchise. They've only been here for 4 seasons since season 3, and now they're here seeking their 2nd championship. I mean, there's a lot of franchises that have been here for 10 seasons and never has won a championship. So that is amazing here for the Oakland Grizzlies. This team is just incredible. The defense is pretty good. They're really stingy and they can get to you quick. And then you got the offense here, just a high flying aspect here. You got Luke McCoy here, Tariq Jammer, obviously, Sam Nelson, Leland Jackson, and then you got Jed Cornell, who can do both, run the ball and receive the ball. This is just a deadly team, and they are definitely favorites here for the Mega Bowl as they take on Toronto next week here in the 1st round. So here we are at the 4th seed, and we got the Toronto Golden Owls. Another surprising season here. They were projected to go 5-9, at least doing better than they did last season, which was 1-13. They had a whole different roster from last season. Of course, the only difference is that Kevin Forbes was there throughout the 2 seasons, and as you can see here, he's a 1st-team All-Pro, 8 sacks this season, along with Marcus Albright, who is he was the guard. I forgot to put his position, but he was a guard there, and he ends up with a 1st-team All-Pro. Also with all 1st-team All-Pro is Zeke Crawford. What a season from Zeke Crawford, over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, and he was single-handedly one of the best running backs in football. And not even that, but Tyrone Hastings having 1,000-yard rushing season, along with a near 3,000 yard passing season, and 4 game-winning drives in his rookie campaign, his rookie season, with Don Riddle knocking down 3 game-winning field goals this year. And with Tyrone Hastings, of course, getting that 4th quarter comeback win in his final game of the regular season against the defending champion Miami Cyclones. I mean, this team is amazing. This team is crazy. And for them to be a Mega Bowl contender in one season with their #1 draft pick after being 1-13 last year, not winning a single home game last season, and then winning, I believe, 5 or 6 home games this season, is absolutely incredible. And I think that this team definitely needs notice here. Now, the big questions here is, will Tony McDaniel and Zeke Crawford leave after the season if they do, in fact, win the Mega Bowl, which is definitely possible with this team here. I know that Zeke Crawford is a little bit older here. I believe he's about 32 or 31 years old. And then, of course, Tony McDaniel, he's at age 35, so he might be retiring no matter what happens this season. But, man, this team is definitely a deadly squad here. And even though they don't have 1,000-yard receivers this season because of the run game, don't miss out on these guys. Jelani Simon, Thompson, and then you have Joey Grantmont there as well. This team is definitely stacked with young and hungry guys that want to win a championship, and we're going to see it here next week against the Oakland Grizzlies. And now we're getting to the true Mega Bowl contenders, the 3 teams that ended up 10-4 this season. And the 3rd place team is the Boston Revolution. This team held up the #1 seed for a long time. They went out there and they had a great and impressive, I believe, 4-0 start. They ended up with an 8-1 start near the end of the season. They ended up 10-4 with a lot of slump losses and a lot of surprising losses, but really nothing too big. And they never lost in a egregious way. They never lost in a big loss type of way. They never got blown out here. This team has a bunch of all-pros here. Anthony Vales with a 2nd-team all-pro. Mario Atkins, the center, 1st-team all-pro, the only 1st-team all-pro. DeAndre Lane, Andy Glass, the guard, Isaac Burnett, the D tackle, and Travis Abrams having a fantastic year as well. This is the only team in BFL history to get back-to-back 10-win seasons. Anthony Vales has progressed greatly. I believe there was a lot of people in the tabloid saying that Anthony Vales really did cost them last season's Mega Bowl. They really did cost them a lot of games near the end of the season. It almost cost them that first round loss to Orlando, which they ended up winning and coming back and winning because of Anthony Vales. So I think that he proved all the doubters wrong this season. He was in the MVP race early on this season, and he definitely edged out a really good niche for him at the end of the season. I think he's definitely the franchise quarterback from now on. This team is seeking their 2nd straight Mega Bowl appearance that has only happened twice. I believe the Carolina Kings did in Mega Bowl 1 and 2, and of course the Miami Cyclones winning back-to-back. So this team definitely on their revenge tour vibe here. They were projected to go 9-5 because of the season that Corey Smith had. I mean, it was not to be replicated. He had 25 rushing touchdowns, 25 rushing touchdowns, and 28 touchdowns in total. So it was absolutely amazing what he did. But we were not expecting them to do what they did. Of course, we knew that they were a good team, right? We knew that they had a good defense. They had a decent offense. They had a young offense as well. We knew that they were going to do well, but we did not know that they were going to do well as they did last season. They did exactly that. They went 10-4, and now they're going to be facing off against New Jersey for the 2nd time in their stadium here in Boston Memorial. Coming in at the #2 seed, we got the Denver Dynamo, who ended up 10-4 as well. They had an incredible season, neck and neck with the Boston Revolution the entire season here, and they have an incredible first team All Pros. Ricky Bledsoe, he had an incredible year, an MVP caliber year. I believe he ended up with 43 passing touchdowns. I think that's second most in BFL history, an incredible feat at that. Casper Perry, the fullback, he had a great season as well, being basically the second running back right to Lamar Harrison. Carl Van Dyke, he had an incredible year as well. Brandon Gill, Earl Young, these were great guys throughout the entire season. And Brandon Gill, he had an incredible season. I believe 6 interceptions, 2 touchdowns this season, a fumble recovery, a forced fumble. Just an incredible year for the Denver Dynamo. Bledsoe's MVP caliber season. He is in the voting for MVP. He is second to Luke McCoy right now, and we just got to see if Luke McCoy is just going to be out there and doing it. I doubt that Bledsoe wins the MVP after Luke McCoy shattered the record. The 2,000-yard receivers, Quandre Stevenson, he was a rookie sensation, man. Playing out that slot at 6'7" is absolutely insane. And then Barber, he didn't even feel the effects of Quandre Stevenson, as he had an amazing year as well. Another season over 1,000 yards and a great handful of touchdowns from this team. The Denver Dynamo look like Mega Bowl favorites. They do, they definitely do, but they got to get past Miami, the 7th seed. And you would feel like the 7th seed is easy, right? You think that it would be a good win for this team heading into like the real playoffs, but this is the real playoffs. This is the actual playoff game that they have to worry about. The Miami Cyclones are back-to-back Mega Bowl champions, so they definitely got to worry about a team like that really going in there and beating them up. But last time they played in Mountaintop Stadium in Denver, the Denver Dynamo completely destroyed them. They won 41-14. So if they can replicate that, man, they might have smooth sailing onto the Mega Bowl. And then we got the number 1 seed, the Carolina Kings, coming from 4-9-1 last season, being I believe the 3rd worst team in the league to the best team in the league this season. And they've always had a culture of success, aside from that season 5 year. Of course, season 1 winning the Mega Bowl, season 2 being the runner-up in the Mega Bowl, season 3 getting the 1st seed, season 4 getting the 2nd seed and being a runner-up in the Mega Bowl, all the way up to what happened in season 5. This team is really good, and Rob Griffith is a legend. And I always say that he's a legend because he had another 3,500-yard season, another 30-plus touchdown season. And of course, he did not make the All-Pro this year because we had a lot of amazing quarterbacks this season. But man, do not sleep on Rob Griffith this year. And you can see who's on the first team All-Pros. Benjamin Dexter, the rookie, he made an immediate impact as soon as he got drafted 3rd overall, and he made a big impact here. 9 sacks this season, the most that we've had in the league so far. Roniel Reed still getting that first team All-Pro after being the Defensive Player of the Year back in season 4. Damian Kelly being the greatest returner of all time, like he was before, and he's in the running for a 2nd Special Teams Player of the Year award. That should be something crazy. I believe he won Special Teams Player of the Year in one of those seasons. I can't recall, but I think he won Rookie of the Year as one of his trophies in his case. This is the 3rd time that the Carolina Kings have been the 1st seed. Of course, season 2, and you have season 3, they went back-to-back 1st seeds, and now in season 6, having a 1st seed is the most in BFL history. Brock Randall is retiring, the longest tenured player in BFL history for one team, the Carolina Kings. He's been there through it all. He's been there through the 0-6 season back in ASFL season 1, and he's been there for the championship back in BFL season 1. So he has been honored in that last home game. He got his jersey retired and everything. The Kings are seeking their 4th Mega Bowl appearance and their 2nd Mega Bowl win. Of course, like I mentioned before, they had plenty of Mega Bowl appearances here, seasons 1, 2, and 4, ultimately losing to Miami, and they haven't been to the playoffs since. Now they have a chance to go and win the Mega Bowl. Benjamin Dexter, like we told you guys before, he had an incredible campaign. He was just a headache for a lot of quarterbacks, including the top seeded guys that we've mentioned before, Ricky Bledsoe and Anthony Vales. They definitely had a hard time with him, and so did many other quarterbacks like Rashard Murphy and et cetera. The list goes on. This has been one of the best and most fine-tuned teams in the league. They have been a machine the entire season, and they end up this season with, I believe, 5 straight wins at the end of this season. And they started out here 5-4. They looked like a middle of the road team, and then they surged through this ending half of the season to really go into the playoffs strong and to host their first playoff game since, I believe, season 4. So good luck on the Carolina Kings taking on the Detroit Demons. All right, so let's get into the awards here. We got the Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, both of them having amazing seasons. We got BB Cash with an incredible year, breaking records in both receiving touchdowns and receiving yards, 1,346 receiving yards and 21 receiving touchdowns. That is like a majority of Rex Johnson's TDs. I believe Rex Johnson had like 38, and he caught 21 of them, or at least like 19 of them, because I believe he was injured one game. So, but we got Brandon Gill, 54 tackles, 6 INTs, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 recoveries, and 1 he took to the house for a TD. I believe that was a fumble recovery that he took for a TD in one of those highlight games against, I believe, Detroit. Our special teams player of the year, it was a no-brainer. It was Don Riddle. He hit 3 game-winning field goals, longer 54, and he had the most points this season. Offensive Rookie of the Year was a tough one. It was between Tyrone Hastings and Tariq Jammer. And Tariq Jammer, he had an incredible year. I mean, he had the most receiving touchdowns by a rookie. He had a lot of receiving yards, but Tyrone Hastings definitely carried his team in some of these games here. 4 game-winning drives, and of course, it includes those Don Riddle field goals. And of course, a game-winning drive at the end of the season against the Cyclones here. 3,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, only 9 INTs, and 24 passing touchdowns, 36 in total. What a year for him. Benjamin Dexter got our defensive rookie of the year. He almost got a defensive player of the year there. He was, I believe he was like 2nd or 3rd, next to like Aaron Tucker. Benjamin Dexter, an incredible season from him. 30 tackles, 5 for loss, and 9 sacks. He almost got double-digit sacks, which would have been the most in BFL history, but he ties the record. The Renaissance Man of the Year, that is our first new award this year, and of course, it's like the Comeback Player of the Year. And Zeke Crawford, he was unanimous on this season. 13 rushing touchdowns, 1,159 rushing yards, 507 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns, 15 in total this season. And of course, the Toronto Golden Owls would not have the rushing attack that they have between him and Tyrone Hastings if he was not there. And they're going to be going to the playoffs with a lot of steam in front of them, hosting the Oakland Grizzlies next week. All right, so let's head on to our 5 finalists for the MVP award here in the BFL. Our 5 finalists are Tamarick Clay, BB Cash, Luke McCoy, Ricky Bledsoe, and D. Singleton. And our season 6 MVP is... it is Luke McCoy. Congratulations to Luke McCoy. He is our 6th BFL MVP. He had an incredible season, 47 passing touchdowns, 51 in total, and he broke the record for passing yards, 4,592. And this is what he had to say after receiving the award. From Luke McCoy, saying, "Thank you guys so much for this prestigious award. I've accomplished so much, but I haven't experienced anything like this before, and I'm blessed to receive this MVP. I'd like to thank God, my family, and my teammates and coaches for sticking by my side during this tough season. I'm blessed to have one of my greatest seasons ever, and I'm honored to be named one of our league's best. For our fans here in Oakland, we're going to do everything we can this postseason to bring another chip back to Oakland. Thank you, and go Grizzlies." That's some great words for our MVP here, and that will be this video here. This was a season recap video, and we're going to be starting off hot with the season 6 playoffs here. Round 1 will be, our first game will be Detroit versus Carolina, and then we'll go right into New Jersey versus Boston, and then we'll finish out the rest of the games with, I believe, Miami versus Denver, and then we have Oakland versus Toronto. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys liked and subscribed. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.